Welcome to part 2 of our South Jersey preview. Marc Narducci and Phil Anastasia. And Phil, as we said in part 1, a great weekend for South Jersey football and another great game. Camden Catholic at 6-0, the number 3 team in the Inquirer, going up against a Holy Spirit team that's had a really nice year.
I love this game, Mark, and I think the over-under on this one could be around 75 because they are really explosive offensive teams.
Yeah.
A lot on the line for both teams in terms of power points and their seeding in their respective non-public 2 tournaments. Obviously, you want to get as high as possible to avoid some of those North Jersey power teams early. So a lot on the line for both teams with regard to that. And you're talking about 2, I think, of the better players in South Jersey on the field. Guys that have put together Player of the Year type seasons in Marcus Hillman, the senior all-purpose player for Camden Catholic, and Josh Samat, the senior quarterback for Holy Spirit. So this is a showcase, really, I think, of 2 of the better programs in South Jersey, 2 of the better offenses in South Jersey, and 2 of the better players in South Jersey.
And Phil, this is also one of the best Saturdays that we'll see in South Jersey. And one of the games, Woodbury at Pennsgrove at noon. We always tell you with Pennsgrove, bring your calculators because, as Phil mentioned, they're averaging 51.1 points per game. Woodbury has a little revenge after losing twice last year to the Red Devils.
They do. I tell you, if you're a fan of Group 1 football, this is about as good as it gets, these 2. You know, Pennsgrove, like you said, Mark, averaging 51 a game. Sophomore quarterback Kavan Lewis and junior all-purpose Tyreek Brown have just been like video game players so far this season. But Woodbury's had a real nice year. You know, we were there opening day. They lost to Paulsboro. You know, and I remember talking to Al Mann, their coach, and saying, you guys are going to win a lot of games. Yeah. And they've won 5 in a row since then. Marcus Magruder, junior all-purpose, been a great player for them this year. Andre Parker, sophomore quarterback. So there's some big-time athletes on the field, even though this is a Group 1 game. And again, revenge factor like you talk. And again, as we mentioned so many times this week, these are teams that could meet again because they're both in South Jersey 1, and this game will go a long way toward determining who's seated where.
Speaking of revenge factor, it'll be St. Augustine at St. Joe on Saturday, and St. Augustine put a hurting on St. Joe a year ago.
They really did, and the Wildcats are not used to that.
Yeah,
you know, and right. I really, would be hard pressed to figure out the last time they lost a game like that, and they remember that very well. This has been a sort of a revenge tour for them this season. They've beaten Holy Spirit, which beat them last year, Cedar Creek, which beat them last year, and now I think they're ready to try to turn the tables on a St. Augustine team. That struggled a little bit in terms of consistency this year. They've been up and down a little bit, but they are still very dangerous, still a formidable team. This is a rivalry game. These kids know each other. You know, these programs kind of compete for many of the same 7th and 8th graders. So a lot on the line, and again, power points in terms of their respective non-public tournaments. Big game for both programs.
Yeah, also on Saturday, it's Haddonfield going up against Cedar Creek. Phil saw Haddonfield in a classic last week, losing in overtime to West Deptford. And Haddonfield lost a close one last year to Cedar Creek.
Yep, this was 17-14 last year and could be close again. In fact, I'd be surprised if it's not. Right. And again, a lot on the line in terms of South Jersey Group 2, Mark. Both these teams sort of jostling for position in that tournament, which I think is going to be loaded. Just a great field. And both teams, I think, Mark, need to prove they can bounce back. Yeah. Haddonfield with a disappointing overtime loss to West Deptford, and Cedar Creek, got beat pretty good by St. Joe last week. So, how do you deal with that? How do you bounce back? That'll be the real measure for both teams on Saturday.
I'm telling you, it's a great weekend for South Jersey football. As always, we hope you go out and enjoy the games. For Phil Anastasia, Marc Narducci for Philly.com.